Hey everybody, Billy here. Now then, Christmas came early for me. The very recognisable Moto lights from LoneRider. I'm going to be installing these on my R1200 GSA, and I'm going to be using the LoneRider MotoCan to be able to do that. So very straightforward. The MotoCan is essentially an easy can from Hex Innovate. Hex Innovate and LoneRider have teamed up to make the installation of the MotoLights really easy via the use of the MotoCan. So I'm going to show you how to install both of these. I've already done one side of the lights on my motorbike on the foot brake side. The reason I've done that is I just wanted to be able to navigate any challenges that I might want to raise for you on the installation video. And there are a couple, most notably around the positioning of the battery on the R1200 GSA. It's on the side of the bike and you get side access to the battery as opposed to taking the seats off on the later models. So I'll show you what I've done so far, and I'll talk to you about the installation that I've done so far, and it's pretty straightforward. And then what I'll do is that I'll go on to show you actually how to install one of the lights as well, and show you all the kind of routing of the wires that I've done. So if that's of some interest, stay tuned, let's get into it. Right, so what do you get in each of the boxes? So let's look at the Moto lights first of all. You get a wiring diagram, but that you don't need that, it's pretty straightforward. It's there just in case you do. You obviously get the very recognizable Moto lights in the box. You got the cover here on there as well. That just pops off really easily. But I think we're all familiar with what the Moto lights look like underneath there. So there's two of those obviously. And then there is a box of goodies as well, and in here are all your cables and brackets that you need. So you will get two of these to attach to crash bars if you're going to crash bar mount them. You get two of these brackets, one for each light. You get, this is really good, you get a very good selection of bracket fillers depending on the width of your crossbars, so on your crash bars. So maybe quite hard to see on the camera, but these are fillers to go inside here on the bracket, just in case that is too big for your crash bars. So you've got a very good selection of rubber inserts that you can cut to size that go inside, ranging from that's the thickest down to thinner. So really good service there from LoneRider in providing those. There is some 3M adhesive tape as well, so that you can cut the relevant sizes and stick that inside the bracket before you mount it to your bike. Get the wiring loom for the light itself, so you get what starts out as a single cable, splits into two, one for each light, which connects then by the single cable to the MotoCan. You also get two 1 meter extension cables. In the MotoCan, you've obviously, I'll show you the MotoCan in a moment, the actual MotoCan itself. But that's in there, and that for me is it's a engineer's wizardry that they've done with the MotoCan from Hex Innovate. It's amazing, essentially. So in the MotoCan box as well, you get a bag of goodies. In here there are blank ends to the spare accessory cables that come out of the MotoCan. So you've got covers that pop on those. You've got some cable ties. You've got some other crimping cables to use. A good selection of goodies. So the other thing that's really important to do before you start any of the installation, in here you've got a cable that connects to your laptop from the MotoCan. Plug that into your laptop, download the software in order to be able to manage and update the firmware version on the MotoCan. Do that so you've got the latest version straight away, and then get on with the installation. So in order to be able to install the MotoCan, first of all, you are going to have to take off these the luggage frames, both the luggage rack, the top box luggage rack and the pannier rack, and this bit of plastic as well, because the MotoCan is going to sit inside here, connect to this component here. and you also need to run the cable in down towards the battery as well, and also to the front of the bike. So this has to come off. Very, very straightforward and easy to do. The tank cover also has to come off. There are 6 screws, 2 here, sorry, 7 screws, 2 here, 3 at the front and 2 inside here. So 7 screws all together. And then also this side panel also needs to be unscrewed. You won't be able to take it off unless you remove the crash bars, but you can unscrew it and make it loose, which will aid the installation of the lights at the front of the bike. So that's all you need to take off. This panel, the tank cover, the luggage frames, and this grey plastic housing over the top of the component area that you're going to need to get to. When we're thinking about the luggage frame at the back, you've got 2 screws here, 2 screws here as well. That takes this frame off. And then you've got 4 screws on the top of this plastic housing. And you've also got 1 screw in here either side to take this frame off the bike. Once that frame is off, this plastic cover will come off, giving you full access to the rear end of the bike. For all the screws relating to the housing at the back here, it's a Torx 40. And then for this panel to come off, you've got a screw just up here underneath the tank cover. So that needs to come off. The tank cover needs to come off first. Then that screw there, you've got a screw here, a screw just there as well, and then you've got 2 screws on the inside, on this side, on the inside, just up here. And and also you've got 1 screw at the front here as well. Once all those screws are out, this cover is easily removed. But as I say, because of this crash bar here, you won't be able to take it out, but it will be loose enough for you to be able to run the cable. And for all these screws relating to the tank cover and the panel here on the side, it's a Torx 20. So here is the MotoCan in situ. There are 7 cables coming out of this device. It's an absolute technological engineering brilliance, I think. An amazing piece of kit. Anyway, the 7 cables. One is to go to the power supply. You have 2 ports then that connect to the motorcycle, 1 port that connects to the MotoLights directly, and then you have 3 other spare ports that are for other auxiliary lights, like the rear brake light, or power supply for heated clothing, or a sound bomb, or something like that. So there's 3 spare ports for those. So this red one connects to this bracket here, which came out of this. This one here connects to this component here. That was the original bracket that was plugged into this. So you pull this off here, plug that into this red, blue, and green cabled port, and then you plug this one in from the MotoCan. You plug that one in to this component. And then the MotoLights are connected via a single cable to this white port. And then when you run the cable for the MotoLights, there is a splitter, and I'll show you that in a moment, where it splits out from the single cable into 2 cables, so that they go to one goes to each light. The other bit of the MotoCan is the power cable, and what I've done is I've routed it. So let me just turn this camera slightly for you to see. So what I've done is I've routed it down underneath the bracket here, down in here, and just down to the side down here. Now the only challenge that I had is getting the cable. So that the power cable has a linked fuse in it, and because of where the battery is located on the R1200 GSA, down on the side down here, getting that linked fuse through some of the spaces here was quite tricky. I managed to do it. Let me show you what I did. So it might be quite hard to see, but essentially there is this little bit of plastic that comes, you can just see the edge of it just there. And what I had to do, I needed to get the linked fuse of this cable down between the blue frame here and this bit of plastic here. And what I was able to do is to get a screwdriver and just leverage, use the screwdriver as a lever just to pull back the plastic a little bit so that I could get the linked fuse down in between there and then out down onto the side down here to connect to the battery. Cables here, so this cable here now that I've routed along here, this is the MotoLights cable, and what you can see is that I've taken the tank cover off the bike, so you need to do that to be able to run the cable up the inside of the tank here. The light's going to attach here with the bracket, and then the cable is going to come up and run behind this panel here, and then connect to this other cable here, and then this other cable, and all of this will sit underneath the panel and the tank cover when it goes back on. So there's the mount, the bar mount installed now. So what we need to do is put the L-shaped bracket on that comes with the MotoLights, one each for each side, and that connects to the front here. Well, we don't want this done up too tight to begin with. So just not too tight to begin with. Just enough so it can still be moved. The bracket here, it's the front hole here that is going to sit there like that. So what I've done now is to put the light onto the bracket. I've secured the two screws on this side. I've now got to do the two screws for the bracket of the light on this side. So now comes the not the tricky bit, but the running of the cable for this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. I'm going to try and position this bracket where it should go. That gives me an indication of the positioning of where I want to run the cable. So I'm going to run this cable now just in between the gap here. So sure it's not being pinched against anything. Right, so what I've done now is I've just run the cable for this up through this panel. I'm connecting it to the other end. That's clicked into place. Now before I do anything else, now that everything's plugged in, the first thing I want to do before I start securing this panel back and anything else is to make sure that the MotoLights work. So let's switch the bike on before I start screwing everything else back and make sure that the lights work. So at this point the lights did not work. I knew that I'd done everything right, but they didn't work. It took me a while to figure out what it was, and essentially the EasyCan and the CAN bus need to work and operate together to find the lights that you've installed. Until that's happened through the software, they're not going to work. So with your bike powered off, and make sure that you've downloaded the EasyCan app for your make of laptop. You won't find it in the App Store. You won't find it on Google Play. You need to go to the hexeasycan.com website, download it from there. Once you've done that, plug your MotoCan into your laptop, open up the software, and the program will run and help you find the lights with the relevant software, and it will link it all together. And once that's done, your lights will then work.